Hey guys, how's it going? All Things Sports by Mike McIntyre here, and I'm here today to bring you a new video about a pair of shoes that I have a very lucky chance to review. It's something that you just don't get your hands on quite often, so I want to say right off the bat a quick thanks to a friend and teammate of mine, Raymond. Thanks for letting me review your shoes, because without them, I would not have a review on this shoe up, and it provides me sort of a unique opportunity to review something you don't see too often. So for all you guys, stay tuned. I'll get right into it right away, but I just want to say thanks to Raymond for giving me the opportunity to do this. So I have here a pair of Nike Tiempo Legend 6s. So it's a shoe that I've never reviewed before, any of the models. I never reviewed the 5s or the 6s. I just never got around to making a video about them. I have a friend that has the 5s, so I probably could have reviewed those, but we just never got around to it, and then before you know it, the 6s are out. So that's what I'm going to review for you guys today, Nike Tiempo Legend 6s, but this is, as you could probably see here, a NIKEiD version. So my friend Raymond decided to customize his, so I'll show you guys what he did. So it gives me a unique opportunity to show off sort of a NIKEiD shoe as well as the Legend 6. So it's two things I've never really done before. So in the box, it's just a normal Nike box, by the way, it just says NIKEiD on it. You get the shoes, and you get a string bag, like always with most top-of-the-line Nike products. And there's a little card in there. I'll talk about that in a second. So that's all that's in the box. I'll show you the bag first. So the bag is obviously all black, and there's it's a traditional Nike bag. There's a little pocket in there that you can, with a little zipper that you can put your keys in or something like that. Black strings, black bag, and it just says in big white letters NIKEiD. So I suppose this is the bag that they throw in with any shoe you customize. Just a generic bag that you get. At least they throw it in, I suppose. So it doesn't matter, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know. I don't think it matters what color you put, you customize your shoes in, but I think you get a generic bag. And I could be wrong about that, but anyways, that's just the bag. So I gave you a look at that, and now let's talk about the shoes. So as I said, these are a pair of NIKEiD Tiempo Legend 6s. So Raymond decided to customize the shoe. Now, he's done this before in the past, but I don't know if he's ever done it with Nike. He's done it with a few Adidas models before, and he always comes up with some unique color. So I think this time he wanted a stealth look, so he decided to black them out. So that's what you get here. So obviously, there's not much to talk about as far as colorway goes, because it's all black. He's got black laces, black upper, black everywhere. Everything is just, he totally blacked it out. The only little bit of color you get is his sort of customization. So he has his initials there. He is, I believe he's German. He's a huge fan of Bayern Munich. I know that. So he has the German flag and his number 4. So that's Raymond's customization. And on the bottom, they also throw in his initials, RM. And on the other shoe, just so you can see, there's his number 4. So they put that, that's kind of a unique little touch. They throw that in onto the bottom of the Soleplate. So we'll talk about the Soleplate after. You're going to notice already it's a somewhat different than normal, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So that was just the colorway. So he decided to black it out, so he made my job a little bit easier there. So thanks, Raymond. But we'll talk about the upper now. So obviously the Tiempo Legend 6 came out with something a little different in mind. They decided to take their classic heritage boot and give it a bit more of a modern twist. So you still get your kangaroo leather upper, okay, but instead of a traditional stitching pattern, which looks like, a lot of people call it sort of like a quilting pattern, instead of that sort of traditional construction, they've decided to implement this sort of, I think it's a foam skeleton structure. So it's like a vacuum foam press skeleton structure, they describe it. And that is built in on the inside with the kangaroo leather built in on top. Okay, so it's pressed together, and it creates this very unique soft upper. So it's still kangaroo leather. It just allows Nike to not have to stitch the pattern into the upper, so that keeps its shape, it repels water, and it keeps it somewhat durable. So all you have instead are these two sort of seams here that sort of go along with the pattern. So if you can kind of see it here, the skeleton's kind of this webbing pattern in the midfoot, but then as you get into the forefoot, it loosens up just to these sort of lines. So you have this extremely soft touch up here that still keeps a shape, but in the midfoot you get a bit more stability, a bit more responsiveness, because of this cage as well. So it's tied into the lacing system, and it's connected to the sole plate at the bottom. So you have the cage that keeps the shape of the shoe, keeps its structure, but it also provides you a bit of responsiveness due to the fact that it's actually built into the lacing system. So that is the main tech on the upper. So they've decided to do that now. I don't know how much of this is actually pure kangaroo leather. I would bet that from the toe box area and forefoot is pretty much 100% kangaroo leather. And I do believe that they have this kangaroo leather overlaid in here. But as soon as you get to sort of this part of the shoe, the back third or back half of the shoe, you get this different material here. And now this is built into the heel counter. So Nike have decided to put on this new sort of external heel counter. So all this area is a well, obviously it's stiff back here. That's your heel counter, but this is a harder synthetic material. So you can see that the leather stops around the Nike logo here, and all the way up there on that seam. But I mean, this Nike logo is not leather, so I would bet that as soon as you get to about that Nike logo, the softness of the kangaroo leather is sort of gone. As soon as you get to this sort of seam, your kangaroo leather is the back third of the shoe. It doesn't feature that kangaroo leather. Mind you, it doesn't actually need it. You don't really need that sort of soft feel in the heel portion of the shoe. That's where you need stability. That's where you need rigidity to keep your foot in place, locked down, and just allowing you to actually perform, I guess. So that is not a bad thing at all. That's how most shoes are made. So you get the kangaroo leather from here forward, and you really feel the softness and that touch in the forefoot, because this area is sort of reinforced with that cage to provide you enough stability. So it's really in that forefoot that you're going to feel the softness of that kangaroo leather. And that's what I meant when I said that they really modernized this soccer shoe. The Legend 5 had a bit more leather on it, a little bit more traditional in the sense that it featured different stitching patterns to actually keep its shape. There was no internal cage. So with the Legend 6, they've really taken a heritage boot and sort of brought it into modern soccer shoes in a way. And for a lot of you out there, you probably recognize, this looks very, very similar to the last Adipures that they released by Adidas. They did the same idea. They had this internal skeleton cage, they called it, and the leather was pressed in on top. Now on this one, I think they've done it a little bit different in the way they've provided that feel, because on the inside, like I said, Nike describes it as this being vacuum pressed onto the leather. So it's got a very smooth sort of internal feel to it. You don't really feel, you're going to feel these lines a little bit, but I remember trying on the Adipures, and they didn't feel at all like what they looked, put it that way. It looked, like this very modern, soft K-leather shoe. But as soon as you put them on, all you felt was the rigidity and sort of stiffness. Well, not stiffness, but you just felt that roughness of the cage against your foot. Now, you're not supposed to get that as much in this shoe, so I think Nike have taken that into consideration and tried to smooth out the lining of the shoe as much as they can to eliminate the feeling of the cage and provide as much feeling of the K-leather as possible. So that's a good thing. But you'll still feel it a little bit, but you still get that very, very, sort of traditional feeling that you just won't get from anything else from that K-leather on the upper. Now they've also done something really unique here. I don't know if this is standard on the main, on like the normal colorway releases, but I would assume it is. They have this sort of rough, I guess, coating here along the front of the shoe, and that's just to provide a bit of durability when playing, so that the glue here and this whole area of the shoe doesn't come apart, doesn't tear. Now it also could be that to the fact that Raymond put on an artificial ground stud pattern. So a lot of what we play on here is artificial turf, so Raymond decided to put on the artificial stud pattern, so he just gets a more friendly, sort of less aggressive stud pattern when playing on this turf. Now you can see there's a lot more studs. They're all round, and they're not nearly as long, so they're placed in a strategic position to remove stud pressure. So that's why you have a bunch of these all throughout the shoe. So that could be, this sort of rough texturing could also be due to the fact that he put this sort of stud pattern on, because they know he's going to play on turf, so they want to reinforce that sort of seam, I guess. So that's quite unique. So they have this rough sort of textured material on the front to help keep some durability, And then we could talk about this rear portion of the shoe. So I already mentioned the internal heel counter when talking about where the leather sort of meets. But they've implemented this rough, or so I should say hard, external heel counter, and they've put this sort of unique. It feels almost like a textile material. I'm not sure what it's made out of, but it's just a way to finish it off. And I don't know. Again, Raymond has this sort of unique graphic in there. I don't know how much you're going to see of it because it's all black, but you might be able to see that there's this sort of shiny pattern sort of built into this area of the shoe just to give it a unique sort of look. And then there's the Tiempo branding there. So there's a unique sort of look in there, but that all feels like a hard textile material. It's definitely made out of some sort of synthetic. The two Nike logos, one here and one here, will be synthetic overlays as well. And that is pretty much the entire upper. Now, they've also, the other sort of modern change Nike decided to make is to put in this one-piece upper construction. So the tongue is, besides this part, okay, here, these two lace holes right there, you can see the seam, okay? Besides that, the rest of the tongue is all one-piece upper, like the Vapor 10s. Okay, so it's not something that's completely new from Nike, but it's going to give the shoe a bit more of a modern feel, a bit more snug feel, a bit more of a responsive feel in that midfoot area of the shoe, but it still allows you to get your foot in quite easily because it's a sort of traditional tongue on the upper third of it, I should say. So there's the tongue. That's all made out of, that's like a padded sort of synthetic material with a leather-like feeling on it. Again, I don't think that's not going to be kangaroo leather, but it's very padded. It's got this unique feel to it, and it just feels like a sort of a leather overlay, if you will. It's not real leather, but they put that up on the tongue. So that's what the tongue's made out of. And then it's the same finish on the liner on the inside. So it's not like a suede material. It's more of a synthetic. That's the best way to describe it. It's like a soft synthetic that they've used to line the back portion of the shoe down in here. And it feels quite soft, which is nice. And I believe it will grip your sock quite well too, just because it's a bit of a sticky sort of padded synthetic material. And then I'll show you the insole. Okay, so the insole just says NIKEiD. Now this is actually quite thick compared to what you get on insoles nowadays. So that's what the insole looks like. Maybe you get a decent idea of how thick it is. So it's this decent pour-on, foam insole. It's got some decent thickness to it, and it's got this sort of mesh liner on top. It says NIKEiD right there. But then they've inserted these pour-on pads. Okay, so you have that in the forefoot and big toe area as well as the heel, so you just get a little bit extra softness. So that's a pretty decent or substantial insole that you get on by today's standard at least. You don't get very thick insoles on soccer shoes nowadays. So very good, looks like a very decent insole from Nike. And then the last thing really to talk about is the sole plate. So like I said before, it's an artificial ground sole plate. I mentioned this before, so I won't get into it too much. It's got the same sort of structure as far as these stability bars go as a firm ground stud pattern, but it's got obviously artificial studs, so they're a little bit shorter, not quite as long. There's more of them obviously just to even out stud pressure because your foot is in contact with more sort of surface area on turf, whereas on real natural grass you can spread the studs out a little bit, have them a little bit longer for a bit more bite, a little bit more traction, whereas on turf you just sort of want to even that out and have it a little bit, have the stud pattern be a little less aggressive. So that's what they've done there. And it even says artificial grass right there. So that's the stud pattern. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I can really say about the shoe. We've gone over the upper, we've gone over the modern sort of tech, the insole, the sole. So that's them, guys. That is the Nike Tiempo Legend 6. As far as fit and feel goes, I'm not going to try these on, obviously, because they're not mine, so they're too big for me. But from what I've heard and what I've sort of read about them, these are going to provide you a very modern yet comfortable fit. That's the only way I can describe it. It's going to give you this traditional K-leather feel. Okay, touch on the ball will feel very, very leather-like, obviously because it is. But at the same time, you're going to get a sort of responsiveness that you might not have ever gotten before from a leather shoe because of the fact that it's leather and they stitch it together. There's always a bit of movement on it. All right, the upper will always stretch, and your foot will never always be completely locked down in a leather shoe. With this, they've tried to eliminate that. They put that one-piece upper construction, at least through that part of the tongue, so it's going to be a little bit tighter here. It'll wrap your foot nice and snugly, but it still provides you with that traditional sort of feeling. So that's what you could expect from this shoe. Soft touch, yet with a modern twist on it. So I think they've been very, very popular, and it's a very, I would say, needed release from Nike, because all their other shoes have sort of, you know, bought into this fly knit game where they're using knits and stuff nowadays. And it's still nice to see, obviously, a traditional shoe, but they've definitely put their research into sort of action here and trying to just bring this modern heritage boot into sort of the modern age of the game. So that's it, guys. That's my review and unboxing of the Nike Tiempo 6, Legend 6, sorry. Again, I just want to say a quick thanks to Raymond, because without him, obviously, I wouldn't be able to do this video. So that's my review of the Legend 6. If you guys have any questions, be sure to leave them down in the comments. I'll definitely get an answer out to you. If you're interested in customizing a pair, you can obviously check out NIKEiD. They have all their models, all their silos there, and you can basically do whatever you want to them within reason. There's certain limitations, obviously, but you can choose the colors, you can choose your stud pattern, and you can choose your sort of customization there. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. There'll be some more videos coming out. And that is all for today. Thanks, guys, and take care.